Hello, hello. It says I'm live. How are you guys doing today? I am so excited to be here with you guys talking about the biggest obstacle, overcoming the biggest obstacle when it comes to learning tarot. So, welcome in, guys. I'm just going to make sure that the tech is all running properly. I'm going to make sure everything looks okay on my end. I'd love to hear how you guys are doing today. Happy Monday. How was your weekend? Let me know where you're from. Send a little wave. Let me know that you're here. If you're watching this replay here in the Facebook group or on YouTube, send a little wave there as well. Let us know that you were here. Hello, hello. How are you, Danielle? Okay, so we're going to be talking about how to overcome the biggest obstacle while learning tarot. And I'm curious what you think the biggest obstacle may be. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to learning tarot? I'd love to hear what you guys think those biggest obstacles could be. Also, guys, if you're watching me live, there are instructions above on how to give StreamYard, my streaming software, permission to see your name so that when I click on your comment, it shows your name and picture. So all you have to do is click it, and it's a quick process to give that permission if that's what you'd like to do. The instructions are just above this video here on Facebook. So welcome. This is being recorded. There will be a replay on this. Minerva, welcome. I am so happy that you are here today. So shall we just get into it? I would love to hear what you guys think the biggest obstacles to learning tarot are. So feel free to put that in the comments down below before you move on in this video. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to learning tarot? And I'm going to tell you what I think is the biggest obstacle to learning tarot. And that is perfectionism. Does that surprise you? I'm curious. So let's go ahead and get started. So, what are some of the ways perfectionism shows up for you? This could be when you're learning tarot, or this could be in other areas of your life. When I think about how this shows up when you're learning tarot, it's about wanting to know the perfect meanings for each of the cards, wanting to know all of the upright meanings, wanting to know all of the reversal meanings, wanting to know the meanings all perfectly. And so that is one of the ways that perfectionism comes up. Hold on, I am going to tag somebody who I know was planning on coming to this in the comments. Okay, so wanting to know the perfect meanings, wanting to be more psychic, like thinking, I'm not psychic enough. I'm not psychic enough to be able to read tarot, wanting to be the perfect amount of psychic enough. And then, what is that perfect amount, right? It's almost always more than what we are. And so, another way that I feel like perfectionism shows up is wanting to have this perfect message for yourself or for another. So, wanting to perfectly be able to pull the message from the cards, whether you're reading them for yourself or for others. So, there's a lot of self doubt, I think, that kind of comes into that. Hi, Sid. How are you? Next is fear of failure. So sometimes we fear that we're not going to be able to do it. And so we are trying to do it perfectly because we're worried that we're not going to be able to do it, that we're going to fail. And so there could be a little bit of fear of failure in there. I'm curious, what are some ways that perfectionism shows up for you guys? And the last one that I have is the fear of judgment. So wanting to look perfect in other people's eyes, if you're doing a reading for someone and you don't do it perfectly, are they going to judge you? There's also this element of like being in maybe a witchy closet. I forget what Rebecca Campbell calls it in her book, Rise Sister Rise. But basically, it's like the spiritual closet where you're worried about showing maybe this side of yourself for fear of other people's judgment, of appearing perfect before the people who are in your life or even complete strangers. And so I think that perfectionism shows up in so many areas when it comes to learning tarot. Sid says, I second guess myself a lot, and I think that it's partially due to perfectionism. Yeah. We really want to show this perfect side of us. We really want to do things a perfect way. And so I'm curious, if we have this perfectionism, and if we have this perfectionism showing up in our lives, what does that result in? What is a result that shows up because of your perfectionism? What is something that happens because of your perfectionism? So, one of the things that I notice for myself and for my clients is that it leaves us frozen. It leaves us to where we're just not doing anything. We just stop. We don't start, or we start to have difficulties and we just stop. Um, Perfectionism blocks our intuition. Mm. So when it comes to something like tarot and tarot cards and tarot reading, we want to be connected to our intuition, but perfectionism absolutely is one of the biggest things that's going to be a block to our intuition. The reason is because we can't have intuition and perfectionism in the same moment. They don't exist within each other. They don't exist together. Perfectionism doesn't honor your magic, right? So you might be getting the results of being frozen, not starting, not continuing. You might be getting the results. I'm so sorry. I'm not even over here with your comments. Okay, you might be getting the results of having blocked intuition. You might not be honoring yourself and your magic when you're in this perfectionism. And perfectionism doesn't allow for the process of learning. If you have to be perfect right now, where can you learn? In between now and so-called perfectionism, there's a huge space of learning, right? How can you be in that space of learning if you're expecting yourself to be in the space of perfectionism? Yeah, they don't exist together, Sid. They don't. I love that. Just a reminder too, if you're watching the live and you want me to be able to tag one of your comments, feel free to click above to allow StreamYard to have permission to your name. Okay, so let's talk about overcoming perfectionism. This video is all about overcoming the biggest obstacle. I think that this is the biggest obstacle that people face when they're learning tarot, is perfectionism. And so how do we overcome perfectionism? I'd love to hear from you guys first. What are some ways that you use to overcome perfectionism? So for me, just in general in my life, one of the big things that I started to do was a mantra, and it is done is better than perfect. How much relief does that mantra bring? For me, it brings so much relief. Like, done is better than perfect, because the thing of it is, perfectionism isn't real. We'll never be perfect. Something we do is never going to be perfect. The meanings of the cards are never going to be perfect. Our intuition is never going to be perfect. It doesn't exist, right? It's a falsehood that doesn't exist. And when it's keeping you stuck and it's keeping you from doing the things that you want to do, that's when it really feels harmful. So, done is better than perfect is a mantra that I have held on to for many, many years now, and it has helped me with my perfectionism. But how does that kind of fit into reading cards? Maybe growth is better than perfect. Maybe learning is better than perfect. Give yourself permission to be new. So instead of thinking, I need to know all the meanings perfectly, say, ooh, I get to learn my first keyword for all the cards. I get to learn the first thing or the next thing in this tarot journey for me. Give yourself permission to be a learner instead of someone who is so-called perfect. Sid says, I practice being present with mindful breathing and meditation. I challenge my thoughts and I look at my self judgment and perfectionism with a lens of love and compassion. This is so good, Sid. Hi, Michelle. This is so good. Yes. Okay, so done is better than perfect. Learning is better than perfect. Giving ourselves permission to be new. Giving ourselves permission to be open and to grow. And I love what Sid said, which wasn't even on my list, is like giving yourself love and compassion. Perfectionism is expectation. Perfectionism is harsh. Love and compassion is exactly the opposite of that. Alyssa says it coincides with anxiety for me. So I either have to push through or get comfortable. Yeah. Yeah. Perfectionism would 100% cause anxiety, right? Because we're expecting something that we aren't. It's here's the thing, we can't know what we don't know. And when we're expecting perfectionism when we don't know something, we're just sabotaging ourselves from the beginning. And you're right, it's definitely like this feeling of anxiety. Mindfulness or meditation, I love that. Okay, some other ways to overcome perfectionism. Let go of other people's opinions. One of the best quotes that I ever heard about this is, someone else's opinion of me is not my business. How many of you guys have tried that? It really helps. It really helps to think that this person's opinion of me is not my business. And I don't even want them to make it my business. I don't care. So, letting go of other people's opinions. Yes, yes. Okay, another thing, we talked a little bit at the beginning of this live about the spiritual closet. We may not be learning tarot because we're afraid of being judged. I got a message the other day with somebody who was following me on Facebook who was being all judgy. Yeah, it's a little bit tough, right? Because there are some people that are judgmental about it, and there's some people that, might say something. But in general, nowadays, this is a pretty safe practice, reading tarot cards. And so it's kind of about having that thicker skin. It's kind of about allowing yourself to validate yourself so that you don't need to be validated by others. Yeah, it gets easier as I get older. Yes. I try. I say I don't care, but it still gets to me. It does sometimes. Yeah. So working on letting go of other people's opinions. Taking off your masks, right? When we're not coming out of that witchy closet, when we're not coming out of that spiritual closet, um, we are putting up a mask and we're putting up a front. If that is who you really feel compelled, if you feel compelled to go after those types of things and to learn those types of things and to be this type of person, and you are worried about others finding out, this is a form of a mask, right? So an invitation to just take off the mask. We find out who our true friends are and who truly cares about us, the ones who accept us for us. And something that has been huge for me, and especially when it came to, I think, especially when it came to trusting myself in readings, trusting my intuition in readings, was to know that my beliefs are perfect for me right now. They don't need to be anybody else's beliefs, but they're perfect for me right now. And also, while knowing that my beliefs right now are perfect for me, knowing that they will shift and allowing them to shift as I want them to, being flexible in shifting my beliefs, being flexible in who I am, and knowing that this person that I am right now is going to shift and grow in my beliefs, in my identity, in what I'm doing, in what I'm offering to the world, and what I'm giving to the people around me. So allow yourself to be flexible, mutable, right? Same here. Same here. It's a process. And I don't know that there's ever this part of us that, like, there is a part of us that wants to belong. And so I don't know if there's ever this time that we don't feel um sad or attacked or so on and so forth when people don't approve of us or who we are or what we're doing. But, you know, the honest truth of it is there are gonna be a lot of people who approve of you exactly as you are, with no mask on, who love you for you, and there's always, no matter what, whether you're wearing masks or not wearing masks, there's always gonna be people who criticize you, who don't like what you're doing, who don't have the same beliefs that you do, and who will voice that. So there's no pleasing everybody. But what I've found is to be true to myself, at least if I'm being criticized, I'm being criticized for the real me instead of some, version of me. I love that. Shifting is good because it means growth. Yep. My dad always said that the smartest people can change their mind and do. I think you're totally right. Absolutely. I wanted to open it up to questions. So if you guys have any questions about overcoming perfectionism, maybe you think perfectionism isn't the biggest obstacle and you'd have a question about what you think is the biggest obstacle for you. I'd love to hear any questions that you guys have. What's coming up for you before we close out the live? Oh, thanks for all the hearts. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions before we finish up? And, the thing of it is perfectionism is really sneaky, right? So even when we're trying to get rid of perfectionism, we might try to do it in a perfect way. We might try to have really high expectations of ourselves in terms of getting rid of perfectionism. So let go of perfectionism there as well. Let yourself notice when you're leaning into perfectionism. Let yourself notice when you were expecting too much from yourself, and be gentle with yourself and be like, "Oh, look, there's that perfectionism." Maybe even name it. Who is that voice of perfectionism in your head? Maybe there was a parent or a teacher that really instilled in you that you have to do it just perfect. You could like name that little voice, that person, and be like, "Oh, there's so and so again." Try to be playful with it. Try to be kind to yourself and generous and not be like, "Ah, there's that perfectionism again. I just can't get it right." It's so sneaky like that, right? Mm, finding local-minded individuals. Are you asking, like, how to find local-minded individuals? I think trying to find groups online can be really handy. When it comes to reading tarot and things like that, you could look for tarot readers or psychics or mediums in your area. I know that we have a lot of spiritual events that come through, like crystal shows and things like that. You could go to one of those events and try to meet people. Um, I do think that part of the reason why we don't come out of that spiritual closet is because we're afraid to be completely ostracized and alone. And part of the um, ways to keep that from happening is to build that social structure for yourself. And you can always find online communities as well. I know it's not ideal, but I live in Wyoming and there's not a very big community here for me. And so I totally know how that feels, and I have done my best to curate a very beautiful online community of people who have like-minded beliefs and who care very much about me. Oh, Alyssa. Yeah, my Aunt Cindy, first person who came to mind. She is my perfectionist voice. Feels good to separate it from myself. That's the key. When you realize that it's not you and you're like, "Ah, I don't have to listen to you." Bring out that inner rebel that says, "I don't have to be perfect." I know it's in there for all of you guys. There's gotta be that inner rebel that rebelled against some parent or teacher that wanted you to be perfect. Bring out that part of you. Okay, guys, it looks like that's it for the questions. Thank you for joining me today. If you're watching the replay, send a little wave. If you have an additional question that we didn't answer here, I will be along later to take a look. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, same thing. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments, and I will be along to answer them. Thank you guys for being here with me today, and I will see you guys next time. Just a quick reminder, I have opened the enrollment for the free 5-day challenge. So this is going to be a free 5-day tarot challenge. We're going to talk about all things tarot for 5 whole days. You're going to get 2 really cool bonuses. We've got the tarot flashcards, which some of you guys might already have, and we also have 20 spreads to give to you guys during this event. So if you haven't signed up yet, go ahead and do that. If you're watching the YouTube, it's in the description box above, and if you're on Facebook, it's also above the video in the caption. Okay, guys, I will talk to you soon. Bye. Let go of that perfectionism. Bye.